All right, so we've been talking a lot about the Batman Part 2 and the Brave and the Bold and the status of both projects. There's a lot of speculation about whether or not the Robert Pattinson Batman is actually going to end up being the DCU Batman, or whether or not they're going to scrap the Robert Pattinson Batman stuff. Well, we have another piece of the puzzle here because Andy Muschietti just went on a podcast and he started yapping, and his yapping session was kind of interesting. So let's get into this. He went on this. By the way, Andy Muschietti is the director of The Brave and the Bold, the supposed other Batman movie that is supposed to be within the DCU. He went on this Spanish-speaking podcast. So, comicbookmovie.com here, they have like their translated quotes. Now, I am bilingual, I will say. I'm not like one of you fucking monolingual ass losers like, oh, I only speak one language. Oh no. Oh, that's you, bitch. Uh no, but I was actually able to find most of this stuff within the interview. I listened to it for myself and I'm like, yeah, these are decent translations. Like they get what he was trying to say across. This one in specific, the first one that they have here, I just was not able to find that in the interview. Like I had to pull up the transcript and then like translate their translations back into Spanish so that I could control F and find the quote within the transcript because sorry, I'm not going to watch the whole 2-hour interview. So my apologies. I'm just going to assume, I'm going to take on good faith that that first quote was actually translated properly because it is an interesting one. So let's get into it. Andy Muschietti says, I've had conversations with James Gunn about the story concept, he revealed, but we haven't talked since before Superman began filming? That's weird. That's very weird that James Gunn and the guy who's supposedly directing his next Batman movie, they haven't talked since before Superman started filming. So I just looked it up, and filming for Superman started on February 29th of 2024. So, again, I didn't listen to this for myself, but if this translation is accurate, and Andy Muschietti is remembering correctly, they basically just didn't talk throughout all of 2024. Now, one thing that I will say is that James Gunn has completely reiterated, right? One of the things that he has said is that they're not going to move forward on a project until they have a script that they're happy with. It is possible, I guess, that they've just been working on that script and they just didn't have anything to talk about because the script is still being written and James Gunn is waiting until it's perfect and whatnot. But I mean, even still, like, you would think that James Gunn would be, I don't know, providing Andy Muschietti with updates, sending him drafts of the script so that Andy Muschietti could give his thoughts. But the first thing that this tells me is that we might be seeing, like, we very well could be seeing very severe chinks in the armor of James Gunn's ability to be the CEO as well as directing a movie. Because does this mean that when James Gunn is directing his Superman movie, that he's just completely unavailable to his directors and to his writers and to his artists? Like, is that what we're getting from this? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, that's definitely a distressing quote. I must admit. Anyways, so we'll read this next part. So this is another thing that Andy Muschietti says. As everyone knows, the Batman featured in The Brave and the Bold will belong to the new DC universe. It's quite obvious that Matt Reeves' Batman is not part of this new universe, Muschietti said elsewhere in this interview. However, DC and Warner Brothers are moving forward with the second part of Reeves' Batman series. As widely reported, is expected to release around 2027. Releasing two Batman films simultaneously would be counterproductive. What DC is doing is creating a strategy to ensure these two films don't conflict with each other, he added, Regarding my involvement in the project, there are good intentions for now. They want to do the movie with me, and I want to do it as well. I'm eager to work on the film. We are talking about the story and the tone. So, I'm very confused by this statement. So, first of all, what the hell is the point of Elseworlds? Like, I'm just so curious. Like, what the hell is the point of Elseworlds? You said that your whole intention with DC Studios was that you were going to have your mainline DCU and you were going to have an initiative where you're going to label movies outside of the DCU Elseworlds. If you're already at the point where before you've even taken your first step where you're like, oh no, I don't know if audiences are going to be able to handle two Batman at the same time. That's the whole point of your initiative. You're telling me that by 2027, audiences aren't going to understand the Elseworlds concept? Like, how are you giving up on the whole idea this early? So I find that to be just very strange. And it's also just very strange that Andy Muschietti is seemingly on a completely different playing field, or on a complete he has different talking points than Matt Reeves. When Matt Reeves was asked about it on the red carpet, he was like, "Oh, I don't know, we'll see where the story goes. If the story fits, you know what I mean? We'll see." And then Andy Muschietti is saying something completely different. He's saying that the Robert Pattinson Batman is definitively not in the DCU. So it's like, yeah, I can tell that Andy Muschietti hasn't spoken with James Gunn in about a year, because he clearly doesn't know what the talking points are. I'm now thinking, like, is Andy Muschietti not at all involved in the conversations that James Gunn and Matt Reeves have obviously been having? I gotta say, man, I think that at the very least, this whole situation is kind of exposing James Gunn's ability to be a leader as like a studio head, right? Where Andy Muschietti should be trained to know what to say and not to say. Like, you can't have Matt Reeves coming out and saying one thing and then Andy Muschietti coming out and saying something completely different. Like, I tried to find a way that it would make sense earlier, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really make sense that you're not talking to the director of your Batman movie in a year, over a year, possibly. Because he said he hasn't talked to James Gunn since before Superman started filming. That's insane. Listen, I'm not turning on James Gunn's DCU. At the end of the day, James Gunn is one of my favorite filmmakers. I'm just going to be excited for whatever his next movie is. So I remain very excited about Superman. But I can't sit here and lie to you that this all makes sense, that everything is definitely hunky-dory behind the scenes, because I feel like it's very obviously not. So we'll see. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I am still, like, I said this in my last video, I am very much leaning in the direction at this point that I think that Andy Muschietti is going to be kicked off, and I think they're going to find some way to have Robert Pattinson be the DCU Batman. The fact that Andy Muschietti is operating off of, like, information from over a year ago, and he's saying that the two universes are separate, but Matt Reeves very recently has probably talked to James Gunn more recently than a year, and is coming out and saying that, yeah, the door's open. Who knows? If the story fits, the story fits. I can't look at that and not think that, oh, I think Andy Muschietti is getting kicked out of here. So we'll see. We don't know for sure. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.